Hi friends, my name is Maruti and I'm the co-founder of Kraku. In this video, I'm explaining the quant questions of Slot 2 CAT 2021. Initially, the question will be displayed for you. Please do pause the video and try to answer the question on your own. If you're not able to solve the question, or if you want to understand how we have solved it, please do watch the video. If you like the video, please do like it and please do share it with your friends. I do want to tell you that we have the previous papers for all the important MBA examinations like CAT, ZAT, IFT. We have uploaded the PDFs for each one of them, and all the PDFs have detailed text solutions. If you're looking for video solutions, you can find the video solutions for CAT 2021, CAT 2020 and all the good MBA examinations on our YouTube channel. So please do subscribe to our channel and please do click on the bell icon. In this question, we are told that n is a integer and the value of 2 plus 2 to the power n plus 2 lies between 2.25 and 202. We are asked to calculate the number of integer values that 3 plus 3 to the power n plus 1 can take. If you are looking at the inequality that is given to us, 2.25 is less than or equal to 2 plus 2 to the power n plus 2, which is less than or equal to 202. If you are subtracting 2 from all the inequalities, we are going to get that 0.25 is less than or equal to 2 to the power n plus 2, which is less than or equal to 200. 0.25 is 1 by 4, that is 2 to the power minus 2. And 200 lies between 128 and 256, which are both powers of 2. That is, this is 2 to the power 7 and this is 2 to the power 8. So if you are looking at it, this is 2 to the power minus 2 is less than or equal to 2 to the power n plus 2, which is now less than 256, which is 2 to the power 8. Or the value of n plus 2 is greater than or equal to minus 2 and this is less than 8. Or the value of n is greater than or equal to minus 4 and this is less than 6. So the values that n can take are minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These are all the values that n can take. We are asked to find out the number of integer values that 3 plus 3 to the power n plus 1 can take. 3 is an integer, so for this we can ignore it. We want 3 to the power n plus 1 to be an integer. So n plus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0. Because if n plus 1 is less than or equal to 0, 3 to the power that number will be a fraction. For example, 3 to the power minus 1 is 1 by 3, which is a fraction. If you are adding 3 to it, which is an integer, you will still have only a fraction, which is in this particular case 10 by 3. So we want n plus 1 to be greater than or equal to 0, or we want n to be greater than or equal to minus 1. So the values that n can take will be minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So n can take 7 values, and for each of the values we will be getting an integer value for 3 plus 3 to the power n plus 1. So the correct answer for this question is 7. In this question we are told that there are 3 positive integers x, y and z. They are in an arithmetic progression. Let us assume that the common difference of the arithmetic progression is d. So the first term of the arithmetic progression is x, the second term is x plus d, which is equal to y, and the third term will be x plus 2d. All of them are positive integers, so this would imply that as x is a positive integer, d also is an integer. We are told that y minus x is greater than 2, so this would imply that d is greater than 2, because y is equal to x plus d, so y minus x is equal to d, so the value of d has to be greater than 2 and d is an integer. We are given an equation. We are told that x into y into z is equal to 5 times x plus y plus z. What is the value of the left hand side? That will be x into x plus d into x plus 2d. And what is the value of x plus y plus z? That will be 3x plus 3d. So this is equal to 5 times x plus y plus z will be 3x plus 3d. So this is 5 into 3 into x plus d. You can cancel x plus d on both sides. So this would imply that x into x plus 2d is equal to 15. We know that x is an integer and x plus 2d is also an integer. Both of them are positive integers. So both of them have to be factors of 15. In how many ways can we express 15 as a product of two positive numbers? We have only two ways. It is either 1 into 15 or it is 3 into 5. Now the difference between these two, that is the difference between x and x plus 2d will be equal to 2d. And we know that d is greater than 2. So this would imply that the difference between these two numbers has to be greater than 4. So the second one doesn't add up. If you assume that x is equal to 3 and x plus 2d is equal to 5, the value of 2d will be equal to 2 or the value of d is equal to 1, which is a contradiction. So the second one is not allowed. So only the first set of numbers is allowed. So this would imply that x is equal to 1, x plus 2d is equal to 15, or the value of 2d is equal to 14. So the value of d is equal to 7. What we are required to calculate is the value of z minus x. Z is x plus 2d. So z minus x will be equal to 2d and the value of 2d is equal to 14. So the correct answer is 14. In this question we are told that there is a 4-digit number like this, and the sum of the digits in the thousands place, hundreds place and tens place, these three numbers add up to 14. And we are also told that the sum of the hundreds place, tens place and units place, these three sum up to 15. You should notice that the number in the hundreds and the tens place is common in both of these equations. And the first sum is 14 where you are having the thousands place number, and the second sum is 15 when you are adding the units place number. This would imply that if you are having a as the number in the thousands place, the number in the units place will be a plus 1. We are also told that the tens place digit is 4 more than the units place digit. So this becomes equal to a plus 5. The sum of these three is equal to 14. So the number in the hundreds place will be 14 minus a, which is the thousands place digit, minus a plus 5. Or if you simplify this, this will be equal to 9 minus 2a. As we assumed that the number in the units place is a plus 1, these three when you sum up will automatically be equal to 15. Now what we are asked to find out is the highest possible 4-digit number satisfying these conditions. Now the number is of the form a, 9 minus 2a, a plus 5 and a plus 1. These are the 4 digits. So as you increase the value of a, the thousands place number increases, and so the value of the number also increases. But what is the maximum value of a? We want 9 minus 2a to also be a positive number, or at least a non-negative number. You don't want to have minus 1 or minus 2 as one of the digits. So this would imply that 9 minus 2a has to be greater than or equal to 0, or 2a has to be less than or equal to 9, or the value of a is less than or equal to 4.5. As a has to be an integer, the maximum value of a is 4. So the thousands place will be 4, the hundreds place will be 9 minus 2 times 4, which is 1. The tens place will be a plus 5, that is 4 plus 5, which is 9. And the units place will be a plus 1, that is 4 plus 1, which is equal to 5. So the maximum possible such number is 4195. In this question we are told that Raj invested 10,000 rupees in a fund. So he has 10,000 with him. And the first year he encountered some loss. Let us assume that the loss percentage is x%. So what is the value of the fund after the first year when there was a loss of x%? It will be 10,000 into 1 minus x by 100, which if you simplify will be equal to 10,000 minus 100x. We are told that this is greater than 5,000. That is, whatever was 10,000 after getting a loss is greater than 5,000. This would imply that the loss percentage x is less than 50%. Because if he had lost more than 50%, then the value remaining would be less than 5,000. Now this balance was invested and the percentage of growth in the next year is 5 times the percentage lost in the first year. So in the second year, the percentage gain is 5x%, and now the overall return on investment is 35%. The amount invested is 10,000. If the overall return is 35%, the final amount will be 13,500. So if 10,000 minus 100x gains 5x%, then it becomes 13,500. Or if you are looking at the profit in the second year, that will be 13,500 minus 10,000 minus 100x. So the profit in the second year will become equal to 3,500 plus 100x. If you divide it by the initial investment, which is 10,000 minus 100x, this is 5x%, or this is equal to 5x by 100. You can cancel 100 in the numerator and denominator of the left hand side. So this becomes equal to 35 plus x divided by 100 minus x is equal to 5x by 100, which is x by 20. Now if you cross multiply, you are going to get that 20x plus 700 is equal to 100x minus x square, or x square minus 80x plus 700 is equal to 0, or x minus 10 into x minus 70 is equal to 0. So the value of x is either 10 or 70. But we know that the value of x is less than 50. We know that the end of first year the amount was greater than 5,000. So x cannot be equal to 70. So the loss incurred in the first year, the loss percentage, is equal to 10%. That will be the answer. In this question, we are told that there are 15 identical balloons, 6 identical pencils, and 3 identical erasers, and they have to be distributed amongst 3 children, such that every child gets at least 4 balloons and 1 pencil. Now because there are 3 children and each one of them at least has to get 4 pencils, let us first distribute 4 pencils, that is 12 pencils amongst these 3 children. We'll first remove those 12 pencils. Similarly, we'll 12 balloons amongst these 3 children, and we'll also remove 3 pencils because every child has to get 1 pencil. Now remember that these are identical balloons and identical pencils. So which 12 balloons we are choosing doesn't make sense. And which balloon are we giving to any one of these 3 children? Again, we have no choice because all of these pencils and balloons individually look the same. So if you are removing this, there will be 1 child over here, 1 child over here, and 1 child over here. We have given each one of them 4 balloons, and we have given 1 pencil. This is something that we have to do, and once we have distributed this, how many pencils and balloons are left with us? We are left with 3 balloons because 12 balloons are distributed. We are left with 3 pencils because 3 pencils are distributed, and we are left with 3 erasers. Now each one of them are 3 individual events. How we distribute these 3 balloons amongst these 3 children? There is no restriction. Now any child can get all the 3 balloons, any child can get 0 of the 3 balloons because we have distributed 4 balloons earlier. Similarly, how we distribute the 3 pencils is also completely up to us, and how we distribute the 3 erasers is also completely up to us. Let us first look at the 3 balloons. Now let us assume that amongst these 3 balloons, the first child gets C1 balloons, the second child gets C2, and the third child gets C3. They've already gotten 4. This C1 and C2 and C3 is in addition to the 4 balloons that they have originally received. So C1 plus C2 plus C3 has to equal 3. Now how many solutions does this equation have? We know that if you have an equation which is of the form x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 plus xr, and this equals n, the number of non-negative integral solutions, that is the number of ways in which we can satisfy this equation such that all of these numbers x1, x2, x3, all of them are whole numbers, that is they are integers greater than or equal to 0, is equal to n plus r minus 1 c r minus 1. So in this particular case, the number of solutions for this particular equation will be 3 plus 3 minus 1 c 3 minus 1. This is equal to 5c2, which is equal to 10. So we can distribute these 3 balloons amongst these 3 children in 10 ways. In the same way, we can distribute the 3 pencils amongst these 3 balloons in 10 ways. And we can distribute the 3 erasers amongst these 3 children in 10 ways. So the total number of ways of distributing is 10 into 10 into 10, which is 1000. This will be the answer.
Google search Crack Your Free CAT mocks. Click on the first link. You can attempt 3 latest mocks in the actual exam in the face. After completing the test, you get detailed solutions, analysis, and percentile along with your scorecard to gauge your All India performance. Click on the solutions to get video solutions from our expert faculty.
In this question, we are told that there are 2 trains, A and B, and their speeds are in the ratio 5:3. So let us assume that this is train A and this is train B. The speeds are in the ratio 5:3. So let us assume that the speed of train A is 5s and the speed of train B is 3s. The front end of A crossed the rear end of B in 46 seconds. Let us assume that the length of A is LA and the length of B is LB. If the front end of A crossed the front and rear ends, and if this time has taken 46 seconds, it would imply that the distance of LB can be crossed in 46 seconds when both of them are traveling in opposite directions. And when both of them are traveling in opposite directions, what is the relative speed? It will be 5s plus 3s, which is equal to 8s. We are also told that once the train crossed the rear end of LB, it takes a further 69 seconds for both of them to completely cross each other. Now, once the first train LA crosses the rear end, this is say A. At this point, the rear end of B is crossed by train A. And if both of the trains are completely crossing each other, the distance that is travelled effectively becomes LA. This has taken a further 69 seconds and the speed is again 8s because both of them are travelling in opposite directions. What we are asked to calculate is the ratio of the length of train A to that of train B. Now if you divide one equation by the other, LA divided by LB is equal to 69 divided by 46, which is equal to 3/2. So the required ratio is option A, which is 3:2. In this question, we are given a quadratic equation ax square minus bx plus c, and we are told that one of the roots of this quadratic equation is 2 plus square root of 3, and we are told that a, b and c are rational numbers. So we know that the quadratic equation is ax square minus bx plus c is equal to 0. This would imply that the sum of the roots of this quadratic equation will be b by a. And the product of the roots of this quadratic equation is c by a. Now, because a, b and c are all rational numbers, b by a is rational, c by a is rational. But one of the roots is 2 plus square root of 3. As the sum of the roots and the product of the roots of this quadratic equation are rational numbers, this would imply that the second root has to be 2 minus square root of 3. 2 minus square root of 3 is the conjugate of 2 plus square root of 3. So both of them have to be the roots of a given quadratic equation. Otherwise a, b and c will not be rational. You can even prove it. We can even prove it now, but you can just understand this and take it for granted. If you are looking for the proof, because the sum of the roots is 2 plus, because the sum of the roots is rational, and if one of the root is 2 plus square root of 3, the other root has to be of the form x minus square root of 3, because you want square root of 3 to get cancelled in the sum of the roots, which is a rational number, and square root of 3 is irrational. Now if you are assuming the other root to be x minus square root of 3, what is the product of roots? It is x minus square root of 3 into 2 plus square root of 3, which would be 2x minus 2 square root of 3 plus x square root of 3 minus square root of 3 into plus square root of 3, which is 3. 2x minus 3 will be a rational number, so we'll ignore it. We want this term to be equal to 0 because this term contains square root of 3, which is an irrational number. So we want square root of 3 into x minus 2 to be equal to 0, or you want x to be equal to 2. Now this is the proof for what we have already determined, which is that the other root has to be x minus square root of 3, where x is 2, or that the other root has to be 2 minus square root of 3. Now if one root is 2 plus square root of 3 and the other root is 2 minus square root of 3, what is the sum of the roots? The sum of the roots, which is b by a, is equal to 4. And what is the product of the roots? That is what is c by a? That will be equal to the product of 2 plus square root of 3 into 2 minus square root of 3, which is equal to 2 square minus square root of 3 whole square, which is 4 minus 3, which is equal to 1. So c by a will be equal to 1, or the value of b by c is equal to 4. We are told that b is equal to c cube. So b by c will be equal to c square. This is equal to 4. So the value of c is either equal to plus or minus 2. C by a is equal to 1. So the value of a also is plus or minus 2. We are asked to calculate the value of modulus of a. So the value of modulus of a will be equal to 2. So the answer for this question is 2. In this question, we are told that there is a container which had some milk. Let us assume that the volume of the container is V. From this, 9 liters are removed and replaced with water. Again, this process continues. There is a formula for figuring out the amount of milk finally left in the container. If this process is repeated n times, then the volume of milk will be V, which is the initial volume of milk, into 1 minus K by V whole to the power n, where K is the amount of water or the amount of milk that is being replaced. In this particular case, the value of K is 9 liters. So after the first time when this process happens, the amount of milk that is left in the container will be V into 1 minus 9 by V. If you simplify it, this is basically V minus 9. If this process is repeated 2 times, that is once 9 liters are replaced, again 9 liters are taken from the solution and they are replaced with water, the amount of milk that is left in the container will be V into 1 minus 9 by V whole square. This is repeated 2 times, so at the end this is the amount of milk that is left in the container. We are told that the ratio of milk to that of water is 16:9. So let us assume that the volume of milk is 16K and the volume of water is 9K. This is at the end. So the total volume will be 16K plus 9K, which is 25K. So this is the value of V. Or this would imply that V into 1 minus 9 by V whole square, this is equal to 16K, and the value of V is 25K. So this would tell us that 1 minus 9 by V whole square will be equal to 16 by 25. Or the value of 1 minus 9 by V is equal to 4 by 5. Or the value of 9 by V is equal to 1 by 5. Or the value of V is equal to 45 liters. So the correct answer, that is the capacity of the container, is 45 liters. In this question, we are told that a rhombus has an area of 12 square centimeters and a side length of 5 centimeters. We were asked to calculate the length in centimeters of its longer diagonal. So let us assume that the rhombus is something like this. Now, a few things you should know about a rhombus is that the diagonals of a rhombus intersect each other at right angles. So if you are drawing the two diagonals like this, both of them intersect each other at right angles, so they will be perpendicular to each other. Let us assume that the rhombus is A, B, C and D, and they intersect at a point O. Let us assume that the longer diagonal is, say, BD. So let us assume that DO is B and BO is also small b. Let us assume that AO is small a and CO is small a. We know that the side of each side of the rhombus is 5 centimeters. So if you are looking at any of the triangles AOB or BOC or COD or DOA, all of them are right angle triangles. So using Pythagoras theorem, a square plus b square will be equal to 5 square, which is 25. We are given the area of the rhombus. The area of the rhombus is 12 square centimeters. What does this mean? The area of a rhombus is the product of the diagonals divided by 2. Each of the diagonals over here is 2a and the other one is 2b. So this is the product of the diagonals. You divide it by 2 and then you will get the area of the rhombus. So this would imply that this is equal to 12, or the value of a into b is equal to 6. We are given a square plus b square. We are given the product of a into b. So we can calculate the value of a and b. How are we going to do that? We know that a square plus b square plus 2ab will be equal to 25 plus 12, which is 37. And a square plus b square minus 2ab is equal to 25 minus 12, which is equal to 13. Or the value of a plus b is equal to square root of 37. And the value of a minus b, if you are assuming that a is greater than b, is equal to square root of 13. So the value of 2a, if you are adding both of them, will be equal to square root of 37 plus square root of 13. Remember that the area of the diagonal is 2a. The area of half of the diagonal is a, but the area of the diagonal is a plus a, which is 2a. And the area of the length of the diagonal is 2a. Similarly, the length of the other diagonal is b plus b, which is 2b. So the length of the longer diagonal will be square root of 37 plus square root of 13, which is option A. In this question, we are given an equation. We are told that log of 3 plus log of 4 plus log of x minus 1, their different bases, is minus 2 is equal to 0, and we are asked to calculate the value of 4x. If you are looking at the equation, log of the base is 2, 3 plus log of, now the base is 3, 4 plus log of the base is 4 into x minus 1, this is the argument, minus 2 is equal to 0, this is equal to 2. If you are removing the outermost log and if you are transferring the base over here, this will be 2 to the power 2, which is equal to 4. That is the value of 3 plus log of all of this. So if you are subtracting 3 from both sides, this will become equal to 1. So log of 4 plus log of x minus 1, the first base is 4 over here and the second base is 3, is equal to 1. If you are now removing this logarithm and if you are transferring 3 to the other side, the right hand side becomes equal to 3 to the power 1, which is equal to 3. Now we will subtract 4 from both sides because now we have 4 plus this. So if you are subtracting 4, this becomes equal to minus 1. Just to write it in a new line, we have log of the base is 4, x minus 1 is equal to minus 1. Now if you are removing the outermost logarithm over here and if you are transferring 4 to the other side, the right hand side becomes equal to 4 to the power minus 1, which is equal to 1 by 4. That is, the value of x minus 1 is equal to 1 by 4, or the value of x is equal to 5 by 4. So the value of 4x will be equal to 5. So the correct answer for this question is that the value of 4x is equal to 5.
We at Krakow provide all the previous year CAT papers along with many other MBA examinations such as IIFT, XAT, SNAP, MAT, CMAT, TIS and PGDBA in the actual exam format. You can attempt them as a test and get a detailed analysis of your performance or download them as PDFs.
In this question, we are told that the sides AB and CD of a trapezium are parallel, with AB being the smaller side. So let us assume that the trapezium is something like this. This is AB and this is CD. This is A, B, C and D. We are told that P is the midpoint of CD. So let us assume that this is P. And ABPD is a parallelogram. So if you are drawing this, ABPD is a parallelogram. In a parallelogram, the parallel sides are equal. So if you assume that the length of AB is small a, the length of DP will be small a, and because P is the midpoint of CD, the length of CP will also be equal to small a. Now if you assume that the height of the trapezium, that is if you are drawing a perpendicular from AB to CD, if this height is equal to h, then what is the area of the parallelogram ABPD? The area of the parallelogram is basically the length of the parallel sides into the perpendicular distance between them. So in this particular case, the area of the parallelogram ABPD will be equal to A into h. Similarly, what is the area of the triangle BPC? The area of the triangle BPC is the base into height divided by 2, which is equal to A into h divided by 2. So the difference between the area of the parallelogram and the area of the triangle will be AH minus AH by 2, which is AH by 2. But this difference is given to us. We are told that that is equal to 10 square centimeters. Or the value of AH will be equal to 20 square centimeters. Now, what is the area of the trapezium? Area of the trapezium is the area of the parallelogram plus the area of the triangle, which is AH plus AH by 2, which is equal to 3AH by 2. If AH is equal to 20, what is the value of 3AH by 2? That will be 3 into 20 divided by 2, which is equal to 30 square centimeters. So the correct answer is option A. In this question, we are asked to calculate the range of the function f of x for all real values of x. If you are looking at the function, the numerator is x square plus 2x plus 4 and the denominator is 2x square plus 4x plus 9. So clearly 2 times the numerator will be equal to 2x square plus 4x plus 8. So the denominator is basically 2 times the numerator plus 1. So to make things easy, let us find the range of the function 1 by f of x. 1 by f of x is equal to 2x square plus 4x plus 9 divided by x square plus 2x plus 4. Like we have discussed earlier, this is equal to 2 plus 1 by x square plus 2x plus 4. This is 1 by f of x. Now this number, this expression can be simplified because x square plus 2x plus 4 is equal to x plus 1 whole square plus 3. So 1 by f of x can be simplified further to equal 2 plus 1 divided by x plus 1 whole square plus 3. What is the range of this function? The range of this function is dependent on the value of x. Now if you are just considering x plus 1 whole square plus 3, x plus 1 whole square plus 3 is always greater than or equal to 3, and it is going to equal 3 when x is equal to minus 1, because this is a perfect square. X plus 1 whole square is a perfect square. So 1 by x plus 1 whole square plus 3 is always less than or equal to 1 by 3. Similarly, x plus 1 whole square plus 3, the minimum value is 3 and the maximum value, there is no limit for it. The maximum value can be any number. It can be 1 lakh, 10 lakhs, 1 crore. It can become very, very large. It can become essentially equal to infinity. So the value of 1 plus x plus 1 whole square plus 3 is basically greater than 0. For any value of x, you make x to be a very large number, then 1 plus 1 divided by x plus 1 whole square plus 3 will become very large, but it will not equal 0. It will be some number which is just greater than 0. So now if you are looking at 1 by f of x, the range of 2 plus 1 by x plus 1 whole square plus 3 is always greater than 2, because the second term of this expression is always greater than 0, and this is always less than or equal to 2 plus 1 by 3. What is 2 plus 1 by 3? That is equal to 7 by 3. So the range of 1 by f of x is between 2 to 7 by 3. It will touch 7 by 3 when x is equal to minus 1, and it will never touch 2. That is, it can never be equal to 2, but it will become very, very close to 2 as the value of x becomes very, very large. This is the range of 1 by f of x. So what is the range of f of x? The range of f of x is just the reciprocals, which is 3 by 7 to 1 by 2. So the correct answer will be option D. The value of f of x will equal 3 by 7 when x is equal to minus 1, but the value of f of x will not be equal to 1 by 2. It will just become very close to 1 by 2 as the value of x becomes very, very large. So the correct answer is option D. In this question, we are given a sequence of real numbers, and we have been given an equation which all of them satisfy. We are told that x1 minus x2 plus x3 minus dot dot dot, where the sign is alternating, is equal to n square plus 2n. We are asked to calculate the value of x49 plus x50. If you are looking for x49, let us first write down x1 minus x2 plus x3 dot dot dot. The sign before the odd numbers is positive, the sign before the even numbers is negative. So minus x48 plus x49 is equal to 49 square plus 2 times 49. If you are trying to calculate the value of x49, we will write down the same equation, but here the last term will be minus x48. This will be equal to 48 square plus 2 times 48. Now if you subtract the second equation from the first equation, the first 48 terms get cancelled and you are left with x49. This is equal to 49 square minus 48 square plus 2 times 49 into 2 minus 2 times 48. 49 square minus 48 square can be easily calculated because this is of the form x square minus y square, which is equal to x minus y into x plus y. So this is 49 minus 48 into 49 plus 48 plus 2 times 49 minus 2 times 48 will be 2. So this is equal to 97 plus 2, which is 99. That is the value of x49. Similarly, we will calculate the value of x50. So for that, we will write down the same equation, but here we will make the last term to be x50. So we have x minus x48 plus x49 minus x50 is equal to 50 square plus 2 times 50. Now if you subtract the first equation from the third equation, you will be left on the left hand side with minus x50. This is equal to 50 square minus 49 square plus 2 times 50 minus 2 times 49. 50 square minus 49 square, again because this is of the form x square minus y square, is equal to 50 minus 49 into 50 plus 49. So that will equal 99 plus 2 times 50 minus 2 times 49 is 2. So this is equal to 101. But what is 101? 101 is minus x times x50. So the value of x50 will be minus 101. Now we are asked to calculate x49, which is 99, plus x50, which is minus 101. 99 minus 101 will be minus 2. So the required answer for this question is option D. In this question, we are told to find out for a real number x, we have been given an equation which is that modulus of 3x minus 20 plus modulus of 3x minus 40 is equal to 20. This necessarily holds if x lies between what given intervals. So let us first look at the equation that is given to us. We have modulus of 3x minus 20 and modulus of 3x minus 40. So let us consider different cases. The first case to consider is that let us draw 3 cases and solve them over here. The first case is that 3x is less than 20. In the second case, 20 is less than or equal to 3x, which is less than or equal to 40. In the next case, 3x is greater than 40. If 3x is less than 20, 3x minus 20 will be negative and 3x minus 40 will also be negative. So modulus of 3x minus 20 will be 20 minus 3x plus 40 minus 3x. This is equal to 20. You cancel both of them. So you are given that 6x will be equal to 40, or the value of x will be equal to 20 divided by 3. But in this case, we are looking for 3x is less than 20, or we want the value of x to be less than 20 by 3. We don't want x to be equal to 20 by 3. So there is no value of x in this given interval for which the given equation is satisfied. In the second case, if 3x is lying between 20 and 40, both of them included, it would imply that 20 by 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 40 by 3. Now 3x minus 20 will be positive because 3x is greater than 20, greater than or equal to 20. So this would become equal to 3x minus 20 plus 3x minus 40 will be negative because 3x is less than or equal to 40. So the modulus of 3x minus 40 will become equal to 40 minus 3x. This is equal to 20. We can cancel plus 3x and minus 3x, and this becomes a tautology. The equation is that 20 is equal to 20, which is always true. So for all values of x which are lying between 20 by 3 and 40 by 3, both of them included, this equation is satisfied. Let us look at the last case where 3x is greater than 40 or the value of x is greater than 40 by 3. Then both of them will be true. 3x minus 20 will be positive and 3x minus 40 will also be positive. So the given equation becomes equal to 3x minus 20 plus 3x minus 40 is equal to 20, or the value of 6x is equal to 80, or the value of x is equal to 40 by 3. Again, we are looking for the values of x which are greater than 40 by 3. We are not looking for the value of x which is equal to 40 by 3. So again, we have no value of x for which x is greater than 40 by 3, for which this equation is true. So the only values of x for which this equation is true lie between 20 by 3 and 40 by 3. 20 by 3 is 6.666 and 40 by 3 is 13.333. Now if you are looking at the timeline, if you are looking at the number line like this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, similarly dot dot dot, this is 6, this is 7, dot dot dot, this is 11, this is 12, this is 13, and this is 14. We are going to get 6.66 somewhere over here, and we are going to get 13.33 somewhere over here. So for all values of x which lie between this interval, the given equation is true. If you are looking at the 4 options given to us, we are told that for all values of x which lie between 10 and 15, this equation is true. But that is not the case, because we'll have some values of x which lie between 13.33 and 15, for which this equation is not true. So the first option is not correct. If you're looking at the second option, it is 9 and 14. X has to lie between 9 and 14. Now this equation is true whenever x is lying between 9 and 13.33. But you will have some values of x which lie between 13.33 and 14, for which this equation is not true. Option C is the correct answer, so we'll come to it at the end. Let us look at option D. It says that whenever x is lying between 6 and 11, this is necessarily true. But again, we can't say that for sure, because we'll have some values of x which lie between 6 and 6.66, for which this equation is not true. So this option is also not correct. If you're looking at the correct option, which is option C, it is saying that whenever x is lying between 7 and 12, so whenever x is lying between 7 and 12 over here, this equation is always true. So we can say for sure that whenever x is lying between 7 and 12, the given equation is necessarily true. So the correct answer is option C. In this question, we are told that Anil can paint a house in 60 days and Bimal can paint it in 84 days. So let us assume that the total work that needs to be done in painting is the LCM of 60 and 84, so that calculations become easy. What is the LCM of 64 and 84, 60 and 84? It is 420. So let us assume that the total work that needs to be done is 420 units. Anil completes it in 60 days. Bimal will complete it in 84 days. So in 60 days, Anil will do 420 units of work. So in one day, he does 7 units of work. Similarly, Bimal takes 84 days to complete 420 units of work. So in one day, he does 5 units of work. We are told that Anil paints for the first 10 days alone. So the total work that he does is 7 into 10, which is 70. Then Bimal and Charu work with him, and all of them work for 14 days. So if Bimal and Charu work for 14 days, Anil will work for 14 more days. So he will complete 7 into 14. This is the total work done by Anil. 70 in the first 10 days and 7 into 14 in the remaining 14 days. Bimal works for a total of 14 days and he will complete 5 into 14. We don't know how much work Charu does in one day. Let us assume that that is C units per day. Charu also works for 14 days. So he does 14 C units of work. This is the total work done by all of them, and this has to equal 420. So this is equal to 420. 5 into 14 is 70. 7 into 14 is 98. So what is the value of 14C, which is the work done by Charu? The value of 14C will be 420 minus 70 minus 70. So this is 420 minus 140 is 280. 280 minus 98. 280 minus 98 is 182. This is the work done by Charu, 182 units of work. The work done by Bimal, total work is 5 units into 14 days that Bimal worked, so that is 70 units. This is by Bimal. And the total work done by Anil will be 7 into 10, first 10 days that he worked alone, plus 7 into 14, so 98, so total is 168 units. This is the total work done by Anil. If you add up all of them, again you are going to get 420. What we are told is that all of them were paid 21,000 total for the job, and the share of Charu will be how much? The share of Charu will be 182, which is the work done by her, divided by 420, which is the total work, into 21,000. 21,000 divided by 420 is 50, so this is equal to 99,100 rupees. That will be the answer.
Google search Crack Your Free CAT mocks. Click on the first link. You can attempt 3 latest mocks in the actual exam interface. After completing the test, you get detailed solutions, analysis, and percentile along with your scorecard to gauge your All India performance. Click on the solutions to get video solutions from our expert faculty.
In this question, we are told that there are a total of 450 balls. Some of them are white and some of them are black. So let us assume that these are the white balls and these are the black balls. Again, there is another distinction. Some of them are metallic balls and some of them are non-metallic balls. So let us assume that these are metallic balls These are non-metallic balls. We are told that the number of metallic white balls is the same as the number of metallic black balls. So let us assume that both of them are equal to x and x. Now 40% of the white balls are metallic and 50% of the black balls are metallic. So what is the total number of white balls? Metallic balls, which are x, constitute 40% of the total white balls. This would imply that the total number of white balls will be x divided by 40%, which is equal to 2.5x. This would also imply that because the number of black balls is x and they constitute 50% of the total number of black balls, the total number of metallic black balls is x. So this would imply that the total number of black balls will be x divided by 0.5, which is 50%, which is equal to 2x. So the number of white balls is 2.5x, number of black balls is 2x. So the total number of balls is 4.5x, but this has to equal 450, or the value of x has to equal 100. So the number of metallic white balls is 100. Number of metallic black balls is also 100. Both of them are the same. Total number of white balls is 250, which is 2.5x. Total number of black balls is 200, which is 2x. What we are asked to find out is the number of non-metallic balls in the box. So what is the number of non-metallic white balls? That is 250 minus 100, which is 150. And number of non-metallic black balls will be 200 minus 100, which is 100. So the total number of non-metallic balls will be 150 plus 100, which is equal to 250. So the required answer for this question is 250. In this question, we are told that in a football tournament, a person has played a certain number of matches. So let us assume that he has played n matches and there are 10 more matches that are supposed to be played. So the total number of matches that he will play by the end of the tournament will be n plus 10. Let us assume that till now he has scored g goals, and we are told that if he scores a total of one more goal in the next 10 matches, his average will be 0.15. So the total number of goals that he would have scored will be g plus 1. So what we are told is that g plus 1 divided by n plus 10 is equal to 0.15. However, instead of scoring one goal, if he has scored two goals, then the total number of goals he would have scored will be g plus 2. The total number of matches he played would remain n plus 10, and the average number of goals that he scored per match will now become equal to 0.2. So we have two equations and two unknowns, g and n. We are required to calculate the number of matches he has played, that is, we are required to calculate the value of n. If you divide the first equation by the second equation, the denominator n plus 10 gets cancelled. So the left hand side becomes equal to g plus 1 divided by g plus 2. This is equal to 0.15 divided by 0.2, which is equal to 3 by 4. So if you now cross multiply, 4g plus 4 is equal to 3g plus 6, or the value of g is equal to 2. If the value of g is equal to 2, the first equation becomes equal to 2 plus 1, that is 3, divided by n plus 10 is equal to 0.15. But 3 divided by 0.15 is 20. So the value of n plus 10 is equal to 20, or the value of n is equal to 10. So the required answer for this question is that the player has played 10 matches till now. In this question, we are told that there is a person who buys tea of three different qualities. One of them is priced at 800 per kg, one of them is priced at 500 per kg, and one of them is priced at 300 per kg. And the ratio in which they were mixed is 2:3:5. So let us assume that he bought 2x kgs of the first quality, 3x kgs of the second quality, and 5x kgs of the third quality. Now he mixes all of them and he sells 1/6 of the mixture at rupees 700 per kg. Now just to make things easier, let us assume that x is equal to 6, so that there won't be any fractions. Or essentially we are saying that 800 rupees, the tea which costs rupees 800 per kg, we are buying 12 kgs. And the tea which costs 500 per kg, we are buying 18 kgs. And the tea which costs 300 per kg, we are buying 5 into 6, that is 30 kg. Again, this ratio of 12:18:30 is equal to 2:3:5. But because we have to divide some of this by 1/6, we are assuming that all of them are multiples of 6. So what is the total cost involved in purchasing this much tea? 800 into 12 will be 9600. 500 into 18 is 9000. 300 into 30 is 9000. So the total money that he spent will be 9600 plus 9000 plus 9000, which is equal to 27600. And the total amount of tea that he bought will be 12 kg plus 18 kg plus 30 kg, which is equal to 60 kg. Now out of this, 1/6 he sold at 70 per kg. What is 1/6 of 60 kg? That is 10 kg, and he sold this for rupees 700 per kg. So the total money that he made will be 7000. And the total amount of money that he wants to make, or the total amount of profit he wants to make, is 50%. So when he is purchased this for 27,600 and he wants an overall profit of 50%, the total selling price should be 27,600 into 1.5. This you can calculate will be equal to 41,400. Now out of this, when he sold 10 kg, he got 7,000 rupees. So the remaining 50 kg should make him how much money? It should be 41,400 minus 7,000, which is equal to 34,400. So what is the price per kg at which he should sell this? That will be 34,400 divided by 50, which is 3440 divided by 5, which is equal to 688 per kg. So the price at which he should sell is rupees 688 per kg. In this question, we are given two equations. We are told that x square minus xy minus x is equal to 22 and y square minus xy plus y is equal to 34. We are told that x is greater than y and we are asked to calculate the value of x minus y. If you are looking at the two equations, in the first equation you can take x common. So this will be x minus y minus 1 is equal to 22. And in the second equation you can take y common. So this is y into y minus x plus 1 is equal to 34. On the first glance, it looks like both the equations have nothing in common. But if you are looking at the second terms of both the equations, both of them seem quite similar. For example, if you multiply the second equation with minus 1, then it becomes equal to minus y into y minus x plus 1 is equal to minus 34. What is minus of the second term? This is y into x minus y minus 1 is equal to minus 34. Now if you are looking at this equation and this equation, both of them have x minus y minus 1 common. So if you assume that this is the first equation and this is the second equation, the first equation minus the second equation will be equal to x minus y into x minus y minus 1 is equal to 22 minus of minus 34, which is 56, because that equals 22 plus 34. Now let us assume that x minus y is equal to p. We are told that x is greater than y, so p is greater than 0. So the equation that we have will be p into p minus 1 is equal to 56, or p square minus p minus 56 is equal to 0, or p minus 8 into p plus 7 is equal to 0. So the value of p is either equal to 8 or it is equal to minus 7. We know that p is greater than 0, so the second root can be ignored. So the value of p, which is equal to x minus y, is equal to 8. So the answer for this question is option D, which is 8. In this question, we are told that D and E are points on the sides AB and AC of a triangle ABC. So let us assume that this is the triangle ABC. This is A, this is B, and this is C. We are told that D and E are points such that AD is to BD is 2:1. So let us assume that AD is 2x and BD is x. Similarly, E is a point on AC such that AE is to CE is 2:3. So let us assume that this is 2y and this is 3y. We are given the area of triangle ADE. We know that in any triangle ABC, if you have given a triangle like this, say the triangle's name is PQR, just to avoid any confusion. And suppose the length of the sides opposite each of these angles is small p, small q and small r. Then what is the area of this triangle PQR? It is equal to half into p into q into sin r, which will equal half into r into q into sin p, which will also equal half into r into p into sine q. Basically the product of two sides, you multiply it with the sine of the angle between both of them and divide it by 2. That will be the area of a triangle. In this particular case, what is the area of triangle ADE? The area of triangle ADE will be equal to half into AD, which is equal to 2x, into AE, which is equal to 2y, into sine A. But we are given that this area is equal to 8. So 8 is equal to 2xy into sine A, or the value of xy into sine A is equal to 4. This is the information that is given to us. We are asked to calculate the area of triangle ABC. What is the area of triangle ABC? That is equal to half into AB, which is equal to 3x, into AC, which is equal to 5y, into sine A. So this is equal to 15 by 2 into xy sine A. We know that xy sine A is equal to 4. So the area of triangle ABC will be 15 by 2 into 4, which is equal to 30 square centimeters. In this question, we are told that there are three people, Anil, Bobby and Chintu. They invest in a business. Let us assume that the total investment is equal to 100x. Anil's investment is 70%, so Anil invested 70x. We don't know how much Bobby and Chintu invested, but we know that Anil invested 70%. We are told that his share of the profit decreases by 420 if the profit overall profit goes down from 18% to 15%. So if the original profit was, because the total investment is 100x, Anil's investment would be 70x. So 70x is his investment and the original profit would have been 70x into 18%. But if the profit percentage decreases to 15%, that is if it becomes 70x into 15%, this difference is equal to 420. Or what this would imply is that 70x into 3% is equal to 420. This is 6. So the value of x is equal to 200. Or the total investment by all the three people together is 100x, which is 20,000. Out of which Anil's investment is 70x, so this is 14,000. The remaining 6,000 is invested by Bobby and Chintu. Now Chintu's share of the profit increases by 80 if the overall profit goes up from 15% to 17%. Now if the overall profit is 15%, the profit would have been 20,000, which is the total investment, into 15%. Now if it becomes 17%, it would become 20,000 into 17%. So the overall profit would be 20,000 into 17% minus 20,000 into 15%. This is the increase in the overall profit. This would be 20,000 into 2%. 20,000 into 2% is equal to 4,000. Is equal to 400, sorry. This is the overall profit. This is the increase in the overall profit. Now Chintu is getting 80 rupees out of this increase. The increase is 400 and Chintu is getting 80 rupees of that increase. This would imply that Chintu's share is 20%. So the amount invested by Chintu would be 20% of 20,000, which is equal to 4,000. And the remaining 2,000 was invested by Bobby. In this question, we are told that there are two pipes A and B which are connected to an empty water tank. Let us assume that this is the empty water tank. Now A fills water into the tank and B empties the water from the tank. Let us assume that in 1 hour A fills A liters every hour and B empties B liters every hour. Now if A is opened at 2 p.m. and B is opened at 3 p.m., the tank becomes completely full by 10 p.m. If you assume that the volume of the tank is V is equal to pipe A is open from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. so it is open for 8 hours. and pipe B is open from 3 pm to 10 pm, so it is emptying the tank for 7 hours. So the volume V of the tank is equal to 8A minus 7B. We are also told that if pipe A is opened at 2 pm and pipe B is opened at 4 pm, the tank is completely full at 6 pm. If the tank is completely full at 6 pm, pipe A is open from 2 to 6, so it is open for 4 hours, and pipe B is open for just 2 hours from 4 pm to 6 pm. So 8A minus 7B is equal to 4A minus 2B. If both of them are the same, it would imply that 4A is equal to 5B, or the value of A is equal to 5 by 4B. Just to make things easy, let us assume that the value of B is equal to 4K for some constant K. That is, pipe B is emptying 4K liters every hour. So the value of A, which is 5 by 4B, becomes equal to 5K. So the volume of the tank is equal to 8A, which is 40K, minus 7B, that is minus 28K, which is equal to 12K. So the amount of time that it takes pipe A to fill the tank will be 12K divided by 5K hours, which is equal to 12 by 5 hours. We are asked to calculate this in minutes, so you multiply this with 60. So this becomes 12 into 12, which is 144 minutes. That will be the answer.